welcome back to more cake. Guess what? I'm badass at a bar. I'm your girl Jelena, and today is a Fix It Friday. I get asked several times, oh, how do I get nice, smooth, clean buttercream? How do I frost the cake? How do I cover my cake in fondant? How do I prevent it from having bubbles? So I thought, without going ahead of myself, I'd bring it back to the basics, right? So today I'm going to teach you guys how to tort, layer frost, crumb coat, and then final coat your cake. Let's get started. What you're going to want to have on hand is a turntable of your choice, a crumb cup, your cakes. In this case I'm doing 2 6-inches, a serrated knife, it has the scalloped edges on it, an offset spatula, you can use a large or small one, in this case I'm using a small one, 6-inch cake board, a mat so your board doesn't slip around, a scraper, some buttercream, and a baseboard. The first thing we're going to do is tort our cake, and the way I like to tort my cake is using the serrated knife, just going right across my cake pan. And then releasing my cake from the pan. Set this to the side and do the other one. Now I want to take my turntable, put on my mat, and then my cake board, add a small amount of buttercream to adhere the cake to the board. Put the first one on, a dollop of buttercream, smoothing back and forth, at the same time turning your turntable. Now if you notice how I did that, I was going back and forth spreading my buttercream to all the edges, and then once I got it nice and spread, that's when I decided to smooth and even it out by one swift turn, keeping my offset spatula in the same spot, and then slowly pulling away. And now I'm going to add my second layer. You want to ensure that everything is lined up. And now what we're going to do is a crumb coat. Now, before I do my crumb coat, what I want to make sure I have on hand is my crumb cup, of course my buttercream, and my offset spatula, and a rag if you need a rag or a paper towel. What a crumb coat is a very thin layer of buttercream that you spread on top of your cake to hold in all of the crumbs. So that way when you put your final coat on, no crumbs are in your final coat of buttercream. So that buttercream will be all nice and pretty and shiny with no crumbs in it whatsoever. So we're gonna go ahead and crumb coat this. The first thing I'm going to do is clean up this buttercream hanging off the side. I like to do over with my offset spatula. Some people like to spread up and down from one side. That's fine too. No matter how you want to hold your spatula, it is all up to what you are comfortable with. It doesn't matter what I'm doing or what someone else is doing. Just do what you're comfortable with. If you want to do this, that's fine. If you want to go like this, that's fine. It's whatever you're comfortable with. I'm just spreading the buttercream that's already on here. And you see what happens? You get crumbs all on your offset spatula. So what will help you out so that way you don't continue to put these crumbs in your good buttercream is you have a crumb cup and you clean off your spatula. And then you want to use a paper towel or rag specifically for this to wipe this off, because you don't want to carry your crumbs into your good buttercream, because we still want to use this buttercream for later. So I'm just going to go ahead and take some more buttercream, and again, like I said, you can go off the side, going up and down, whatever helps. And as you notice, I never lift my spatula. I let my wrist do all the moving for me, and then with my other hand I'm just slowly turning the turntable, never lifting my spatula off the cake. I'm not doing this. I'm going up and down. That's the best way to spread effectively and quickly. If you want to do the over cake part, you bring some buttercream over You put it on top of on the side of your cake and going back and forth. Never lifting your spatula. Again, letting the wrists do everything for you. And with your other hand, you're turning the turntable. And you're just going slow. This is going to take practice. You're not going to get it overnight. It's a learning situation. Take your time. The more cakes you do, the better you will become. I promise you. You can't just do one cake and think you're going to get it. See the thinness that I'm putting this buttercream on? And I'm just making sure I'm covering the cake in its entirety. I think that's a nice good thin layer. And now I still have to do the top. So what I'm going to use is actually what's in my crumb cup. Just scrape all this and put it right on top of it. Because why let this crumb cup buttercream go to waste? And all I'm doing is spreading back and forth. You see how my wrist is doing all the work for me? My arm is staying in the same spot as always. And I've just spread all around the top of my cake. That's all that's happening. And then once I got it spread around, keeping my arm still, going around, I'm gonna swipe off. And now you see I have a little bit of an edge here. Using my spatula, I'm gonna just go ahead and scrape that edge off and then cleaning off my top by going out. Some people like to go towards them. Some people like to go away from them. I like to go away. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the cake on another cake board. I have my base cake board. You can use any base cake board that you choose. I'm gonna take some of this crumb coating, spread some on here. You can do something smaller, maybe an 8-inch cake board. This is just what I had on hand, so I'm just gonna use this one. Put some buttercream down, and I'm gonna set my 6-inch on top of it. Okay. The reason why I set this on another board is so when I do my final coat, I have something to scrape up on rather than scraping up on my turntable. And then also when I want to pick up the cake, I'm not sticking my hands on this little 6-inch, then I'm going to stick my fingers in that buttercream. Now I have a cake board under the entire cake that I can pick up without ever affecting the buttercream. So now I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in the freezer to chill. And when I say chill is when I touch the cake and the buttercream does not get on my finger. And then we'll take it out and do the final coat. Now my cake is all nice and chilled. I'm gonna go ahead and final coat this. Buttercream on the top. Again, back and forth motion. Turning the turntable with one hand. Going back and forth, making sure I'm spreading the entire cake. But you also want to come all the way down to your cake board. And you see I'm not trying to smooth it out, I'm just spreading it. So nothing is nice and smooth right now. I'm just spreading it, making sure that I'm covering every nook and cranny. And once I have all the buttercream plastered on there, I'm gonna grab my scraper. And in an angle, I'm going to scrape my cake very gently. I want to make sure that my scraper is flushed against the cake board on the bottom. And now I'm going to scrape my scraper off, clean off the spatula, and clean off the scraper. Because whatever is still on your spatula is going to get on your scraper and vice versa. Okay, now I'm going to show you that again. Now you want to put your scraper in an angle up against your cake. You don't want to go straight into your cake or you're going to make a line. You want to go in a nice angle. You're holding your scraper in one spot the entire time using your non-dominant hand. This is my dominant hand, non-dominant hand. I'm going to turn the turntable with my non-dominant hand, and you see how my scraper is flush with this cake board and flush with the 6-inch round cake board. And I'm just scraping ever so slowly, making sure my scraper stays up and down. And now it's starting to even out all the buttercream. Now you can obviously see cake still. We're gonna go ahead and put on some more buttercream because I want to make sure I don't see any cake. Okay, I put some buttercream on. I'm gonna hold my scraper up against the cake one last time. This time I'm not up against the 6-inch cake board, because if I am, I'm gonna scrape it in the same manner that it was scraped before. So I'm just a little bit off of it. And now I'm just gonna scrape around. Get a nice even. So now you can see buttercream is getting smoother, but there's some holes and little dents in my buttercream, right? Cracks and holes that are in your cake. Like even a hole down here. Those are what you want to fill up. You see how that's uneven amount of buttercream? You want to fill that up and kind of make it all nice and even. Throwing some buttercream in there, you're not worried about smoothing this out, just filling it up. When you pull your scraper off, you never want to just pull it right off the cake, because you're going to pull off buttercream, which is going to pull off some cake. You want to slide your scraper. Remember cleaning your scraper in between each scrape. You see how much more smoother that's becoming? As beautifully and organic this top part looks, we're going to go ahead and scrape this off nice and smooth. So let's get started with that part. Using an offset spatula that's nice and clean with no buttercream on it, we're going to go ahead and smooth our top part of the cake. Now some people normally go towards them, or you can go away from you. It's all about what you feel comfortable with, whatever you want to do that works for you. Now when you hold your spatula, you want to make sure you don't hold it straight flat like this and go across the cake. You want to tilt it just a smidge and go from the edge all the way till you get just about to the middle and slide off, just like you do your scraper. You never want to, at any point, whether it's the side or the top of your cake, just put your spatula on some buttercream and cake and lift it off like that. By doing that, what you're gonna do is pull the buttercream, which cake is gonna come with it, and you're gonna mess your whole situation up. So you wanna always just slide your spatula or your scraper right off your cake. Again, remember, making sure your spatula or your scraper is clean, and I'm gonna go away from me. You're more than welcome to go towards you. Now clean off my spatula. Now I'm going to turn my cake just a smidge and do that same gesture again. Repeating this over and over of cleaning off my spatula. If you mess up, guess what you could do? Start over. It's not a big thing. Now I just want to make this nice and even. I'm just going to go around one good time. Okay. You see? I've made a lip on the side because I've done that. So I'm just going to very gently scrape that. Try not to ruin the rest of my buttercream. And then just clean this up. Thanks again for joining me for another Fix It Friday. I hope this Friday I fixed your frosting issues and helped you out in some sort of way. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at yes_ma'am_sweets, and make sure you're liking and subscribing. And comment below with what kind of Fix It Friday you want to see next. Oh, and don't forget to hit the notification bell down below so that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. So I want to give a shout out to, and this is just randomly chosen, I want to give a shout out to Shamika Peebles, who commented on a YouTube video that I did on Tuesday, the 2-Minute Tuesday I did. She said, thank you for these quick tips. I love your personality and your channel. Quick question. I've never worked with Tylose powder. When you add it to the fondant, does it get stiff or dry right away, similar to gum paste, or is it still some workability in it? Well, let me tell you something, Shamika, it is still workable. When you add Tylose to fondant, all you're doing is adding powder that's going to help your fondant dry later on. You can still work with it, but the more air that hits this fondant now that there's Tylose in it, the more it begins to dry. So you want to make sure you at least work quickly with it. That's why I don't like to work with gum paste, because gum paste dries out way too quick for me. Tylose and fondant, it allows me time to still work with it, move it around, but I also work quickly with it. And I know my fondant. It really just depends on what type of fondant you're using also. Because with Wilton fondant, which I've been using for 12 years. With Wilton fondant, I've never had a problem, never had an issue. I know that fondant like the back of my hand. So whatever fondant you choose, just make sure that you know how it works before you add the Tylose, so that way you understand how long you have with it sitting out in air. And then when adding the Tylose, just know that that's going to speed up that process. So hopefully that helped you out. I'll see you guys next time. Deuce.